PixInsight 1.9 was just released, and in this video I want to give you a first glimpse of what it contains, what it is all about, what you can profit from right away. And so as I wanted to do it as fast as possible, there's no green screen today. We are right on my computer and we will start right after the trailer. Hey, this is View into Space. I'm Sascha from Switzerland, so grüezi miteinander and thanks for watching my channel. So let's get right to it. PixInsight 1.9 has the code named Lockhart. I wasn't even aware before that these versions had names, but now they make it very prominent, Lockhart. If you wonder what it is, they explain it here. It's one of the main characters of Final Fantasy VII. And I quote, "Tifa is an empowered woman whose strength, endurance, complexity and dedication represents the spirit of PixInsight project." And when I show you now how she looks, remember that this is the only reason they chose Tifa. Let's have a look. Yeah, I see the endurance and the strength and the dedication. Absolutely, fully understood. Anyway, it's always good starting with a good laugh. So, installation went perfectly. I'm, as you might know, on a Mac. No issues at all scripts loaded. So from that point, just from my initial perspective, there is no reason why you should not install it. But there is again something so funny and so odd, which is actually at the very back here, and I want to show you that. Recommended platforms and supported operating systems. And what they state is the reference implementation of PixInsight where you may expect the maximum performance and best user experience is the Linux version. Which is it's just so surreal and it's so PixInsight. It's absolutely not directed at their customers because probably 2% of their customers are using Linux. But they created in the maximum performance on Linux. Why ever? And obviously, it is still not ported to native Mac support. We're still running on Rosetta, even now. And I'm just wondering if next year will really bring this miraculous moment where they will port it after, is it now already about 4 years the M chips are out? Anyway. Well, let's go back up. So when we look through it, we have the multi-scale gradient correction, which is combined with Mars. And that's what we so desperately waited for. And I will demo it afterwards. I will show you how this is done. It's not so straightforward, but it's definitely the future. And from my perspective, that's the moment where we have, at least the ones who have PixInsight, where we actually can put Gragspur to the grave and any other gradient removal solution. The only thing which is still lacking is Mars does not yet cover the full sky. And we see that here they have 2 files and they do not cover everything yet. So we have to wait for that, but that's a question of time. But when I saw now in the demo picture what it can do without any modification, then yep, that's the future. The second thing is a very small thing, which they make a rather big thing out of it. It's image synchronization. You can put 2 pictures on the side, and then when you scroll, they scroll both at the same time. We will look at that. From my perspective, everything that comes afterwards, that's performance increases, faster drizzle, faster WBPP, more reliable image solver again, stuff like that. Probably you will not really recognize that much. It's good that it's there, but it's not something we have to really cover. There's also a new feature in Property Inspector. Well, Okay, whatever. So I want to focus now when we go into PixInsight really on just a little bit at the end. I will show you this image synchronization, but mostly because that's the main thing of this, of Lockhart, right? Lockhart. It's the multi-scale gradient correction. Before we move over to PixInsight, just that you know, to install it, you have to go again on the PixInsight website. You have to download the version 1.9. If you have a Mac, you have to delete before the version you have already on your computer in the application folder. With Windows, I hear sometimes this, sometimes that. Do whatever you please. I think it also doesn't hurt if you kill it, but I think you could actually run it over it. But what I really want to show you is this here. XMARS database files. You have to download these two files. So it's a little bit like with Gaia. You need this data to actually run afterwards the new gradient correction. And I will show you what to do with it. And without any further ado, let's go now into PixInsight. And I have here this nice or not so nice picture of the butterfly nebula with Satyr here in the middle, destroying everything. So number one, very unusual that the multi-scale gradient correction works. Your picture has to be solved, like it has to be solved for SPCC. So as we anyway do SPCC, you anyway have to have it solved, and if you actually stack in PixInsight, you have it already solved, but just know that you have to have it solved before we can start. So if you stack like me in app or something like that, just from a workflow point of view, the solving is now done earlier, right at the beginning in principle. The next thing is you cannot go right into multi-scale gradient correction, because first you need to flux calibrate it. And if you go now like, huh, what? Yeah, so was my reaction. And if you want to know what it is, I'm sure that Adam Block will create a 2-hour video where he will explain you in detail what this is. Personally, I don't care. I just want to get rid of the gradient, so I just do it. You actually find it here in spectrophotometry, in spectrometric flux calibration. So not the color calibration, the flux calibration. Looks very similar to the color calibration. You just, here in the QE curve, you select your sensor. You can select here your filters. And once you have done that, you throw it on here. Okay. And once it's done, once we have calibrated our flux, we get these three curves, which I have no clue what they are. They might show how much back to the future we can go if we use the flux for the flux compensator, or I don't know, but they look nice, don't they? So let's just close it down. We have done our calibration. That's the main thing. And so now finally we can actually go, ta-da, into the multi-scale gradient correction. Here it is. So I already did some stuff here, but in principle, just go down here to the right, to the little wrench here, to the preferences. Just click add and add these two files which you have downloaded before and say okay. Then you might have to click here default files, and then they appear here. That's important that they appear here. You could also go here add XMARS files, but then you would have to do it every time again and again and again. So you better go this route here, then they're permanent. And the cool part is there's nothing else to do. Just take the triangle, throw it on there. Okay, and here we go. As with any other gradient correction tool, we can see here what was removed, and you see that's quite complex. We also see that there's some vignetting, so it's not an even that easy gradient which was removed here. We also see here that the massive halo from Satyr was removed. And when we look here at the picture now and we do an undo and a redo, we nicely see how it did a perfect job. Really amazing. And that's what I mean. You cannot top that. And with the gradient correction before, you had to still do some selections. And they say there's still some things you can do and they will show later. But I mean, it might be for some very difficult cases, it might be needed. But that's really a great result. And quite honestly, that really makes a big difference again in our all workflow, in the speed, in the quality when we get our gradients better under control. So absolutely great. So with that, I just want to show you this image synchronization. So let's say I want to explore now a little bit more where it actually removed the gradient. Then I'll just take this and I press Command on my Mac, and I think on a Windows it's Control, and I just throw it over here. And you see the little orange dot. And now when I go here to the scroll bar, you see that both images go in sync. Also when I zoom now, it zooms in and out in sync. Now I wouldn't say that this is the biggest invention since sliced bread, but there might be cases where this is really helpful. For example, you're looking at back focus issues. You have different versions with different distances of pictures. Then you can now put them beside and go from one corner to the other and compare and have both right side by side. And in cases like that, I think that's really nice. So it's a good add-on, it's a good thing to remember that it exists. And with that, I want already to conclude this very short video. This will also be my last video before Christmas. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and all the best for the coming year. And I hope to see you again in the new year, and until then, clear skies.